clear their left ear. So that was the first ear that I took an examination of. However, the patient's right ear, they were unable to remove it fully. And they got the patient to come back several occasions afterwards. And they actually saw this specialist yesterday prior to contacting myself. And unfortunately, they just found the symptoms are getting worse. And the specialist, it would appear, that has got some of the wax out, but this residual wax is quite medial, so it's very deep and it's impacted. And the patient felt after their last appointment that the blockage got worse. It's plausible, possible, but it's hard to tell that this wax was actually, during the process of being removed, got impacted further in, and the patient was in extreme pain, and with it being the weekend as well, they really wanted me to try and squeeze them in yesterday prior to the weekend, because they weren't sure they'll be able to deal with their earache and wait until next week to see me. So we managed to get the patient in, and I'm just being very, very gentle here because the ear was very, very tender upon attending. In fact, they were holding their ear as they arrived because it was so painful. And you can just see this wax is really dark. It's really impacted against the eardrum. Now, the patient did admit initially using a cotton bud, a Q-tip, which obviously didn't. I think that was what triggered their symptoms, and that's when they sought help. And you can just see this impaction. It's right up against the drum. There's a lot of oil in the ear already. They've been using drops in the last couple of weeks continuously. The patient did experience the caloric effects. I think it was this part here. As I was removing this chunk, they got a bit dizzy, and we just had to momentarily pause the procedure until their vertigo, they experienced a bit of vertigo, feeling of the room spinning around, until that subsided. That can sometimes happen when you perform earwax removal, with suction especially, because it does reduce the ear temperature and your ears regulate your balance, and there's an organ of balance on each side. You can see I managed to get this plug out off the eardrum, and it's just got stuck at the entrance, so the plug was larger than the entrance of the ear canal. So with suction, with a temperature change in your ear, essentially you can get a bit of vertigo. And also when you're removing wax off the eardrum as well, that can cause a pressure differential, and pressure can also affect the organ of balance. But they were fine, and that's the patient's eardrum. There's little specks of wax, dead skin around the ear, but we're not ever going to bother attempting that because, as I said, symptoms are completely gone. The patient broke down in tears. They were so grateful. They didn't think, despite kind of researching me, that I'll be able to remove this for them, just because they've had so much problems with other specialists trying to remove this, and they thought, despite what they've read about me, it's going to be near impossible, and managed to get it out in a couple of minutes. So very happy and over the moon, and I hope she's enjoyed